Hello and welcome to the Grow Patiently podcast. Today, I'm really excited to introduce Dylan. He's been a practicing dentist for 13, 14 years, and he is now, or has been for a number of years, bridging between that and an entrepreneurial journey that I think has been really interesting, especially for myself as someone who used to be a teacher and is now an entrepreneur and took that journey himself. When I met Dylan, I thought, this is such a cool story. We should definitely chat. And this is where we are. So, hello, Dylan. Welcome.
No, thanks for having me, Hugo. I'm really excited for this because I think we've got some cool stories to share, some fun things to dive into, and yeah, hopefully the listeners can get something out of this as well.
Yeah, 100%. So let's make a start. Tell us a bit about your story, about from dentistry, why you decided to make that leap and invest yourself into an entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So I don't think it was actually by design. So as you said, I've been a practicing dentist 13, 14 years, and at the start of my career, it was very traditional. So you do well in school, you go to uni, you go through uni, and dental school is very structured, like high school as well. And what you're supposed to do is finish, work in a practice, eventually get good at what you do, open a practice, and that's your journey, let's say, for the next 20, 30 years. And it sounds really rosy. Like I think any of you who are listening who have been to a dentist or a dental clinic, you kind of get an idea of what's involved and what that lifestyle and those commitments are like. But I was probably like 6, 7 years in and just it didn't appeal to me. It wasn't for me. And part of that was, I think, the pressure you put on yourself. So I felt quite trapped because I felt, oh, I don't really want to open my own place or specialize. And I actually had no idea what to do. And that was really challenging in itself because you've spent the better part of 10, 15 plus years studying and working. And then you're like, well, what do I do now? Like, I don't know anyone who's taken a leap or taken a jump. And it's something that I kind of went quite introspective. And I think a lot of people who've done these jumps have done that as well. And you kind of think, well, how am I going to create the world I want? Or what am I going to do differently? And you slowly realize that you actually have a lot of autonomy in that. And to be honest, like for me, I was asking different people, checking in with different people who'd made jumps into different careers, good, bad, ugly advice. And I thought, look, let's go really gung ho. And for me, it was more take a year off dentistry. I did a business degree full time for a couple of years. It was all during COVID as well, so this was this beautiful hodgepodge of all these crazy things all happening at the same time. Um, but it allowed me to actually slow down and start to create, I guess, the profession that I felt I fitted in and the career that I wanted, but at the same time, the personal life and I guess what my day to day would look like as well. And I think having that opportunity to slow down and realize, oh no, this is what I want to do rather than what I'm supposed to do was really important. And particularly, I think I was in my late 20s, early 30s by that stage where you kind of look at your colleagues and peers and you think, oh, maybe I'm supposed to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. But you actually realize everyone's got their own skills, everyone's got their kind of, I guess, characteristics that makes them, but it's more finding that path or that journey. And it can be easy sometimes and it can be hard for others. And I think I was very fortunate to have that year off because it's really led to some amazing things. And Hugo, you kind of touched on this. It's you kind of sometimes go down some certain pathways, and for me, it was tech, it was innovation, it was healthcare consulting, and you kind of find your people, your place. And I guess where I am now is this beautiful combination of still doing some clinical practice. I'm doing some board work, I'm doing some advisory things, I'm doing some speaking. So it's all these different things, but it's stuff that I want to do and it really interests me. And I'm really happy that it's got to where it needed to be because I think if I had have, let's say, stuck in a pretty safe career and a pretty traditional career, I don't know where I'd be right now. That's the beautiful thing about it. I think you can create the world you want and make those decisions that line up with who you are, but also kind of create this world that's truly uniquely you. And I think Hugo, you've had like a similar kind of journey as well. Like I think we've kind of I think almost mirrored some decisions and some challenges. Like love to hear about I guess your journey as well and what you learned from that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting hearing it because I think we said before that people think this is something that's unique to one industry. Like you were saying, so many people think this only happens in healthcare, but actually, my story is really similar. I was a teacher. I'd kind of studied history all the way through my schooling times. Then I went to university and I did a teaching degree. So, a similar kind of thing. Really, you invest so much time and energy into something, you begin to get that feeling. What do they call it? The opportunity cost. You know that you've already invested so much. You don't dare step back. Um, but I had a very similar feeling. I just felt like, whoa, my next route was like assistant head teacher. And then if I could get to it, head teacher. And one of the things that was really sticking out to me was when I was seeing the people at the top. Some of them were really cool, don't get me wrong, and I have a lot of friends in the industry, but I just felt like that's not really the life I want. So I think I had the really similar feeling to you of kind of how can I potentially design something, some kind of work that will give me the life I want. And funnily enough, when I first started teaching, that was one of the things I was trying to do anyway. Because I was thinking, oh, I'd seen the way that people in my family had worked, and they'd worked like getting up at 4, getting back at 11 p.m. It was just totally nuts and really, really hard work. Not that I'm shy of hard work, but I just felt like they were really sacrificing a lot of things. And so I thought maybe teaching would be a great vehicle for me because I'd seen that they finish at 3:15. I thought maybe I'd be able to pursue other things. Like I was really into making music at the time. And you know what? Luck panned out for me when COVID happened. It actually gave me the time after school from 3 to then pursue setting up a business. And yeah, the rest is really history, as they say. Wow, pun not intended, but yeah, rock and roll. um, yeah, I wanted to ask you because you were saying about like the time off you had and what you wanted to do. And I was thinking, what were the skills that you thought, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I presume that's what you were thinking, but I do have these skill sets outside of clinical dentistry. And, how did that form your decision and the path you began to take that led to where you are now?
Yeah, you're spot on. Like it's a good question because I think sometimes when you want to do that reset or start a new chapter, you feel like you have to start from scratch and all the experience, all the know-how, the skills that you have in one industry doesn't relate to something else. And what I found was there actually is a lot of stuff that all of us have from our experiences, our jobs, our careers that can actually transfer to different industries. And I think when I started thinking about it, I was thinking, okay, well, I've been a dentist for a while. I've got some healthcare background. I know how to present. I know how to communicate. But what job can I do with that? And I think a lot of times it was very, again, probably low risk as far as people saying, oh, you should go into consulting, or maybe you could open a couple of dental clinics. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's not too bad, but it doesn't really kind of get the fire burning. But I think when I kind of slowed things down and had a look at, okay, well, I know that I love meeting people, I love talking to people and hearing their stories and connecting. Part of being in healthcare is there's a lot of empathy and understanding everyone's unique journey and ultimately being able to tailor something towards them. And part of that is also problem solving. Like if you've ever been to the dentist with a toothache or something like that, within a couple of seconds, couple of minutes, it's okay, we've got to do this x-ray, we've got to do this test. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Treatment's going to get done. So those skills, I think, were the foundation of where I was looking at, okay, well, I can problem solve, I can communicate, and I can connect with people. What are some of the roles or interesting opportunities that might align here? And I think it was more when I went through the MBA, being exposed to different industries, and one of the cool things with that degree was you had 50 people, 25 male, 25 female, all different industries, and you think you're unique. But the interesting thing is all of us are going through the same problems, same difficulties at work, whether it be organizational, whether it be social, whether it be culture, whether it be financial, whatever it may be. And you're like, oh, we're actually all in the same boat here. And I think that really helped because it kind of humanized, I guess, what I was feeling because you don't feel like you're the only one. But at the same time, you realize, okay, well, all of us have these unique little combinations of things. Where can we apply that? And I guess the challenge initially is where do you start? And I think what I found was particularly going through some of my networks and finding people who'd done similar things. They were like, look, just start. Like think about something you like, and that might be helping out a company with a business plan or being a clinical advisor at a startup. Just do it and see where it goes because it could work out, it may not, but it's going to give you an experience. You're going to test yourself a little bit differently, and you're going to get close to understand what you want to do. And yeah, there's definitely some cool people I met, some interesting stories. I've got definitely some wrong decisions here and there, but I learned a lot from those. And yeah, it kind of starts to narrow down. Okay, well, when you start this process, you don't have to have all the answers. I think that's something that in my mind was, no, no, by the end of this year, I've got to have this lined up. The goalposts change all the time. Your expectations change all the time. You change and evolve as well. So it's a really interesting one where maybe even if I look at this year, there was certain things that I was like, oh, I really want to do this really effectively. And I want to have this program running and I want to do a lot more kind of guidance and mentorship. And as the year goes on, it's like, oh, this is actually more me. This is working a bit better in some of my skills, or this is a really cool opportunity or a cool person that I want to work with. And I think you kind of trust your intuition. I know that sounds very high spacey, kind of high level, but you kind of trust where you're supposed to be going. And I guess some of the doors open where you want to go and some of them close. But at the same time, I think it directs you into where you fit best. But at the same time, you've got to still take that step through the door as well.
Yeah, it's funny how just saying yes to some things sometimes, well, sometimes it can take you down the wrong path. Like you said, it can be bad decisions. But sometimes it opens you to something new you hadn't thought of, or it just opens you up to something that you realize you're actually really good at, and you continue to pursue that. I was thinking when you were saying all of that about how the experience I had when I started leaving teaching, I I I did a similar thing. I just started. So I started reaching out to people saying, "Oh, I can help you with this," or "Oh, I am intending to help people with this." I did it for free to start with, and just to sort of gain experience again. I'd taken some courses a bit like you. But I remember during that stage, I spoke to one of my teacher friends who was at the same level as me, and I said, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do." And he said to me, "This is what he said." I was saying, "I'm thinking about leaving teaching." He was like, "What if you can't do anything else?" And I
Yeah.
was like, "Dude, what if I can't do anything else? Are you being serious? Not that I'm that big-headed, but like we can all do something else, surely." It's not a teacher that I am. There's a ton of skills, just like what you said, problem solving, empathy, obviously clinical elements and sort of teaching specific elements are in there. But it's the other skills that make you who you are. And I think there's two camps. You've got one group of people who get more and more narrowed into the career they're in, and they're often really, really successful in there. So that's great. I'm certainly not someone who says everyone should become an entrepreneur. Definitely not. You might be one of those people who's just epic at working inside a business and you really push that business so much further. But you get those people who go further and further in, and then you get the other people who are always trying to sort of see how they can go further out. And I think that's perhaps why the two of us have chimed together because we're on that side.
Yeah, and that's so true. Like I think sometimes because I don't know what was like the best. Like that was a really good comment from your PR. Like, did you have a lot of mates and family who are like, Hugo, what are you doing? Like, you've got a good gig. Like, why would you take the risk? Why would you take a challenge? Like, did you have a lot of that pushback?
Definitely. Yeah, I wanted to ask you that. But yeah, I did have that. I'm that guy is the main one I remember because he is still a friend, or he was a friend certainly more at the time. And I didn't really get it from parents quite as much. Because also the way that it worked for me was quite handy. So I think we've spoken about this before about how you can manage the move. And for you, I think it's really cool. In dentistry, you can do the locum work, and it's really nice to bridge that. In teaching, it doesn't work quite so well. Substitute teaching, you can do it, but it's not amazing. And so what I did was I just used my evenings, and to be honest, nearly ran myself into the ground doing it. Once I'd done enough free work that I felt confident to charge my first, I think I charged $100 for my first like piece of work. And I remember thinking that was actually the moment that everything just totally exploded in my mind because I had always been paid by someone else, like through my work. And then suddenly this person paid me $100 to do this piece of work. And I just realized, wow, if I could do that, I could do this many, many times theoretically. And so I just worked really, really hard in the evenings. And to be honest, it was exhausting. For me, it felt like the safest route because I was a little bit scared. I didn't have tons of savings where I could say, okay, I'm going to go and do this thing. So I got myself into a position where once the business had grown to a level where it had surpassed what I was doing in teaching, I was like, okay, what happens if I actually spent all my days working on this thing rather than just my evenings? So I was taking calls with people in America at like, I don't know, 12:30 at night and then having to get ready for teaching at 6 p.m. It was it actually got to a point where there was no choice. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, to answer your question, did people say no? I think there was less uh, people saying, or fewer people saying, don't do it, because I had that justification. Not that I told everyone exactly the financial elements of it, but I felt really confident to go because of that. Um, and yeah, I guess how about you? Like, who were the haters, as they say online?
Yeah, it was interesting because I think, like, I remember starting on this process, a lot of people were like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're giving up a good career, you know what you're doing, like, there's an easy runway. Why would you, like, just stop when you're about to get into, like, the prime of your career? And I was like, well, I don't want to look back and think, what if? Like, why would I not take that risk? Why would I not? Because I think, like you said, I think with dentistry, it's a really good plan B. I remember one of my professors at uni was like, look, if you do this and take this risk and it doesn't work out, you learn something, you have some good experiences, you've challenged yourself, but you can always go back and do dentistry. It's not that hard. And I was like, yeah, that's actually a really good perspective on it. So I think that inherently for me was a nice foundation to know, okay, well, worst case scenario, let's give this all I can. And if it doesn't work out, there's always some things that I can kind of go back to that I enjoy and that you recover a little bit, you recoup, and then you think, okay, well, what's the next chapter going to look like? But I think exactly what you said. I think I had a few mates who were very like, okay, well, this is the pathway, and you run your business and you get successful, you do all those kind of things. And if you do something different, it's like, well, what are you doing? Like, you can't do it outside of that. You can't go down a different pathway. It's not going to work out as well. And to your point as well, I think the financial thing comes up a lot. And I think the best thing I've always done is not make decisions on money, especially when you do go down like an entrepreneurial route. It's exactly what you said there. It's not going to pay off at the start. It's a lot of extra hours. You do tend to burn yourself out, but there is a tipping point where suddenly you're like, I'm kind of enjoying this, so this makes sense. And then it might be a financial component, it might be a deep inside emotional connection, or it's some purpose in the work you're doing, and that kind of makes sense to it. And like I started this kind of jump maybe 5 years ago now, a little bit longer. And it's cool to kind of catch up with mates who at the time were like, oh, is this like a quarter life crisis, midlife crisis? You okay? To, hey, that's actually really cool what you're doing now. Like it's nice to sort of see that transition and change because now some of them are like, hey, I want to kind of get into what you're doing now. Like, how did you find these people? How did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And I think that's the beautiful thing. Like, I think, especially in Australia, there wasn't a lot of people that I was aware of that had taken that move in healthcare and taken that risk. And now it's like one of the best parts of my week is people reaching out who are keen to do the same thing, but they're like, well, where do I go? Who do I talk to? And essentially the whole purpose for us doing this podcast is really around that. Like there's so many people who have taken those leaps and jumps and had a lot of fun and success doing it, but you don't have to do it alone. Like there's so many different pathways you can do it and get advice and support and inspiration. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I think going back, there was a few people who were like, yeah, do it. Like worst case scenario, you waste some time, waste some money, but it'll be fine. Like life's too short. But I think the best quote I've had was I think when I started this, my dad, big supporter of me. He's worked as an accountant, finance, done very well. He did an MBA once upon a time. And when I started it, he was like, I don't know what you're doing, but you will be okay. I trust that you know what you're going to do. And over the years, he's like, I still don't know what you're doing, but I can see some little successes. And now I think we catch up pretty regularly. And he was like, I still don't know what you do, but you seem really happy. And that's the most important thing. I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, and I think that's the conundrum sometimes of doing entrepreneurship and taking some risks and things. Not everyone's going to get it. But I think for me, that was huge. Like for him to be like, you're actually happy and enjoying what you're doing. That was the best kudos I could actually receive.
Yeah, that's nice. It's funny that they don't know I have the same thing. I think online, anything online, people are just like, wait, I don't think I understand what he does. But yeah, do you
Yeah.
know what? I just today I'm actually meeting an old friend from university, and he was one of the people who kind of encouraged me a bit like what you're saying, people saying just do it. It just so happens I'm meeting him for dinner tonight. Cool guy, and recently exited a business that he'd been working in for like 5, 6, 7 years. And um, yeah, he said to me at the time, because I was still working as a teacher, and I was thinking, oh, this is so stressful that I'm basically going to be here until I'm 65 now. That was one of the real things. And he was saying that he had just kind of jumped between a bunch of different startups and had just got new jobs. He was like, these are the qualifications you have, these are the skills you have. I'm sure you'd be able to go and get a job in these places if you wanted. So just go and do your thing. It'll be fine. I thought, okay, fair enough. And actually, just this week, I had one of my old students reach out to me on LinkedIn saying that he
Oh,
wants to go and do, because sometimes these guys that I'm in contact with some of the ones who were in sick form, like we obviously became quite close because we spent a lot of hours together. um, he reached out saying he's trying to set up an AI business of, I don't know quite what it is yet, but I'm excited to meet him and hear about it. But yeah, it's cool. I did want to kind of say that I think it's important. Both of us are saying that we had something that helped bridge the gap. And I think that's really important because there are loads of guys online. I don't spend a lot of time, funnily enough, scrolling through Instagram, even though a lot of the work I do is in there. But there are people who always seem to be saying that, just take the leap, like burn your bridges, all this kind of stuff. That seems like too dangerous of advice for me. And I think maybe not enough people are actually saying that they do have support. It's like people are obsessed with saying that they're a self-made person, when in reality, no one is actually self-made because someone helped you in some sense. Even if it's not that your dad was a billionaire, it could be that, your dad owned a car wash company or worked at a car wash and got you your first gig. That's still someone helping you. Uh, so I think it's really important to say that to think strategically about how you're going to do these kind of moves. I don't know. What do you think?
no, look, I think we're in alignment with a lot of things, to be honest. Like it's weird. Like even though we're on different sides of the world, like I think there's some really common things that line up that way. I think fundamentally it's all about relationships, at least in my opinion. Like it's how you interact with people, how you connect, how you treat people, how you I guess treat those relationships and connections as well. Because you're right. Like I think there is a small, hopefully a minority, might be a majority, I don't know, depending on which kind of social medias and websites you look at, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna smash it, I'm gonna do this all for myself, and I'm gonna be winning. Everyone's gonna like be happy with me. I'm gonna be living a great life, blah blah blah. It's kind of hollow, it's a bit empty, at least in my opinion. Whereas you can't, I feel like you have to do it with other people. Like it's so much more enriching. You go so much further, but there's no point winning and there's no one there to celebrate with. And I think really in everything that I've done so far, like it's been really good relationships with people, the businesses, the organizations, because it's very synergistic. Like as much as you're helping them, they're supporting and helping you, and you're both trying to elevate each other. Like at the end of the day, it's got to be win-win to a certain extent. And whether that be a startup, whether it be a big organization or a corporate gig, even if it's an advocacy thing, it's got to be a mutually kind of beneficial setup because that's where you find more people. Like they obviously have your internal network, you have your successes, and people are like, hey, Hugo did some awesome work with us. You should talk to him. Or we had some really good outcomes. These are some people you can connect with. I'm not a fan of the whole burning bridges thing because the world is a small place.
Yeah.
Um, and things travel very quickly. You think the world is small, but everyone knows everyone. And now that we've got phones and everything's virtual now, it's even quicker for things to travel very, very fast. And it probably does change the way that people maybe do business now and interact. Like, again, we met through LinkedIn, like you were meeting one of the founders with one of the companies I work with, and that's how that random connection happened. And
Yeah.
here, whereas let's say 20 years ago, yeah, it's very unlikely we'd be ever doing anything like this. So it's a brave new world, and it's really fun and exciting. But like, it's weird. Like, how have you found things change? I guess in those relationships and I guess doing things collaboratively versus alone. I guess let's call it even the last 3 years, like post-COVID lockdowns and things like that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of community elements. It just makes me feel better. And when you were talking, I was thinking one of the ultimate wins is, I guess it's a referral, but I think one of the ultimate wins you get in any kind of business is when you're getting something in return from like your client or someone you're collaborating with that's not financial. It's something extra on top. So whenever they say that they want to, like a referral, but on top of that, it could be anything, that they want to help you with something. So, for example, they say, "Oh, I saw that you guys are all doing X, Y, and Z now, and I had this idea, and I thought it'd be really cool for you." And you think, "Oh, that's so nice." And it's just because you've actually invested the time in nurturing a proper relationship. So, yeah, I'm big on that. I think it has changed though because AI does make it has changed things. You're able to actually reduce the amount of people sometimes you need because you can use AI as a tool to speed up many things. And that's going to be interesting to see how that continues to play out because I'm not really one I don't want to just be working by myself with a team of AI soldiers. Uh, I want to have a team. It's a lot more fun, someone to chat with and people to share the wins with, like you say. So yeah, for me, collaboration is really important. I think it makes a big difference. Like there's a sign outside one of the areas that I live in that says if you want to go, it's not like underneath a bus, no, underneath a train line on a bridge, and it says if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with others or go together. And it's
Yeah,
cute
that's
and it's kind of cheesy and it's probably a cliche that's like being heard everywhere. But I do think that, because ultimately you're trying to create something with longevity as well. I don't know what your ultimate plan is. That would be quite interesting to think about because for me, I really like the business I'm in and I really enjoy it. And I'm still, I think, right at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I'm probably about 5 years in, really. It depends on how you look at it because you think, oh, and that year's when I took it way more seriously. And this year's when I really started doing X, Y, and Z. But really, it's about 5 years since I thought I want to do something different. So I'm still a baby, really. But what I'm trying to do but what I'm trying to do is build this thing up to a certain level that it will then allow me to explore next opportunity as well. So I'd be interested to see what you're thinking. What's your next 5 to 10 years looking like?
yeah. Look, it's an interesting question because I think, like you said, I think I'm just getting started as well. Like maybe the journey starts when you're in primary school and you look at a certain problem or do something differently. But I'm very much the same as you. Is like, okay, that was the day I made the proper quit that job, started this journey, and that's my D-Day kind of thing. But I think one thing that we didn't touch on a little, not much, but I think it's that idea of building something long term, and I guess for me, part of the motivation to do things was building a legacy, and it doesn't have to be something grand or anything major, but it's more, well, what do people think of you? Like when job, we always talk about jobs and things, but once you're retired, once you've finished up, and people think back, they're like, well, what did Hugo mean to me? What did I think about him, or how did he make me feel? Or when I met Dilhan, how did he tackle this situation, or how did he help me out? I think that's the motivation. And it's kind of taking it externally rather than internally. Because, yeah, to your point, like you want to be doing it with other people, you want to be building those communities of connection, but at the same time, it's so much better to share that and see everyone win rather than just you. So I think, look, my long-term thing would be just honestly traveling around the world, meeting cool people like yourself, different companies, different startups, different ideas, and just jumping in and saying, look, let's tackle this problem together. Let's see if we can get some success and let's celebrate. Let's have a hard problem, but let's succeed and get to that point. That sounds very much like I don't know. I'm not going to call it like a startup influencer. It's not, don't get that catching on, but like it's just the idea of being in different cultures, different countries, and just meeting different people. But I think the direct future is very much working with like startups, advisory positions where people have really great energy, really cool ideas, and just feeding off that and just elevating them. Like I think I was having a chat with some couple of people this week, and like I don't want to be someone who's at the front of the line. I want to be behind pushing someone so they succeed. and they can take that next chapter or that next level. And that's, again, it doesn't have to be a financial thing, but inherently you know that you've changed this person's life or helped them advance their kind of vision or their drive. And the fact that you can do it multiple times and have that impact on a lot of people is pretty special. So I think I don't know, like, do you feel quite fortunate to be where you are now and having the opportunity to impact a lot of people? And I guess if you look back, like you said, 6, 7 years, you're obviously impacting people in a different way. You're obviously impacting your students and your community, but like, do you get the same kick out of both of those? Are they slightly different? Yeah, like, love to hear.
Gosh, yeah, I think I could talk about teaching for ages, and I've got a bit out of it now for too long, so I don't like to comment on it too much. But I did see a post from one of my old colleagues saying that 40,000 teachers in the UK left the profession this summer, which is about 10% of the workforce, which is totally terrifying. But yeah, teaching in the UK certainly is, I think, in quite a bit of a mess. And so the purpose that I felt, I think a lot of people think you have this huge purpose, that you're changing people's lives and stuff like that. And there are a few people that you do actually change their lives, like this guy who got in touch with me. I mean, he's told me, for example, there's a handful of them who over the years have just reached out randomly on Instagram and said, I just wanted to let you know. One guy got in touch with me saying, I just wanted to let you know that I got first in whatever this degree was that I did. I can't remember what he did. He was like, I just wanted to message you because I don't think I would have done it without you. You actually taught me how to write properly and to express my ideas and X, Y, and Z. And now I feel confident to go and do this. And I'm getting married and I bought this property and all these cool things. I thought, epic. So you do have a few like that. Um, but yeah, I like my business because it allows me to work with a bunch of different people. So I think one of the things that I struggle with is the shiny object syndrome, that I like to look at new things and think, oh, that looks interesting. So what I quite like about my role is that I get to work with different people, a bit like you. I guess the slight difference is that we have sort of systems that we put into people's businesses, but still a lot of it is consultative as well. And so you have these different characters that you meet and you see them along their journey. Like you work with people for 2, 3 years, and then sometimes you haven't seen each other for a while and you catch up. I met with a guy the other day and he had his child. He didn't have that baby when we first met. And he was saying, oh, say hello to Uncle Hugo on the Zoom. I was thinking, oh, that's really sweet. And yeah, and to see how his life has changed. And because of the work we've done, because his business has actually doubled, then he's thinking, wow, now I can do this and now I can do that. And even though I don't take full credit for that, I do feel like that was something that I was a part of. And it's really nice to see that his life's been impacted. And because he's a good guy, he's a really lovely person, I have no doubt that he is changing other people's lives. And so in that sense, it is quite sweet. I think what's really interesting about yours is that you get to work with loads of different types of people as well. So we focus very much on healthcare practices, whereas you are working on startups, still tech startups, but it means that you get a real broad group of different people. So it must be really fun working on these different problems that just present themselves to you. And you don't have to sort of wrestle with it your entire life because it's not your business. Your business is the consultation business. I wonder, what's that like for you? Like, do you get shiny object syndrome?
All the time. All the time. And it's hard because it's hard to say no sometimes. So like I've just come out of like a real probably like one of the hardest working periods of my life, or the last hardest 12 months, I'd say. And again, you go through these bursts where I think I was working 6, 7 days a week almost, long hours, traveling around Australia, New Zealand. It was a lot of fun, a lot of amazing experiences, but it kills you. It's a lot. And it was this beautiful kind of mix of all these different industries and different people. So I was working in a relatively large corporate. It's the biggest one in Australia, New Zealand that run dental clinics. And part of that was running a grad program and doing education. And that was really cool because you're seeing these people at the start of their journey. They're fresh, they're new, but they're having all these challenges and different experiences. And you put, I guess, one hat on because you're kind of taking a step back and thinking, okay, well, that's where I was once upon a time. What's going to help you? How can I make that journey better for you? But at the same time, you've got to get the outcomes. You've got to have some success. There's got to be financial metrics that we've got to work towards. And ultimately, the business has to be profitable. And the next day, you jump into a startup. and you're working with, let's say, the Orgi team who are looking at automation and then using AI around making that interaction a lot more fun and exciting. But you've got two guys who are in the dental industry, but not dentists or healthcare practitioners. And there's different challenges and different subtleties in that, but they bring fresh ideas, they bring fresh energy and different ways of doing things. And then you jump to another company, which might be, I don't know, like a board where we're looking at a group of dentists from all different experiences and different backgrounds. And there's a major problem that we've got to solve, but it's collaborating and pulling all these different pieces together. So suddenly, within 24 hours, you're in three very, very different groups, different people, different personalities, different expectations. And it's fun. It really is honestly really fun. But I think that the kick I get is sometimes people who are non-healthcare, non-dental, who want to understand about dentistry or healthcare or tech, and they're like, all right, just explain to me as a 3-year-old, what does this mean? Like how does a tooth grow, for example? And I think that's the best energy because they're the people you want to work with because they come in open-minded, they're willing to grow, and as much as they're going to learn off me, I'm going to learn a lot off them. And yeah, look, I think even I think some of the circles that I've kind of extended out to and friends and really close connections now, it's interesting because I would say a lot of healthcare practitioners, and I'm not sure if the same with teachers, but you go through university, you do your training, you're all mates, you hang out together, you generally talk about your work or what's happening next, and you stay in these little bubbles. And I think the beautiful thing is now, and very rarely talk dentistry. It's very much talking big picture stuff, life stuff, fun things, excitable things, new challenges. And that's the best part. Like I think going away from, I guess, what we're trained to do and what we think is day to day and what we feel is our identity sometimes to go to something where you're like, oh, I can put different hats on and tap into different parts of my personality or brain and pull out maybe some creativity or pull out maybe some public speaking or get rooted. I was terrible at English, but like write a beautiful little pitch, like things like that, where you kind of get to tap into different things. And again, really fortunate to have that opportunity because you get to yeah, be different people in different areas. You're still yourself, but you get to kind of tap into all these different bits and pieces rather than having to do the Groundhog Day 5 days a week, 50 odd weeks a year for however many years after that. Because I think especially like hearing about how you've kind of expanded your portfolio as well, like what's something that you see like somewhere that you really want to dive into or some cool people that you want to meet?
Oh gosh, there's been so many things that I try to resist them essentially. But I know I'm meeting with some AI people actually after this in about an hour or so to because I'm really interested. I want to create a tool, an AI tool that helps sort of supplements the work we do, um, that can be directly used by the end user, so it doesn't have to come through us. It's very wishy-washy, but it's because it's an idea I've had and I'm kind of excited about it. But but yeah, everything with AI right now, I'm just finding really interesting because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many interesting things that could be done. And I've seen some people do some great things. I have a friend who's done something with the emails automation, not automation, sorry, AI email inbox management, and it's totally insane what he's done. I mean, we were meant to meet, but he doesn't have time to meet with me anymore. It's like that kind of that kind of success he's doing. So that's cool. Uh, so yeah, just meeting with lots of people, like meeting with yourself. I love that's why I really enjoy this podcast. You get to meet with lots of different people, and you just learn. It gives you a moment off your own work and just learn about what other people are doing. And obviously, you make connections that are really interesting going forward. And maybe it plays into the shiny object syndrome, though. But I think something really interesting you said is about, and I think it's a nice way to sort of bring it full circle back to what we were originally speaking about. So you're talking about you can draw on all the different skills that you have within yourself, in all the different elements of work that you do. And it kind of goes back to your very central point at the start, and mine as well, which is that if you have a set of skills, you're able to take those skills elsewhere. So I thought it might be a nice place to kind of round this off that for me, one of the pieces of advice I give people when they ask it, or as a teacher, and an older brother. I often give it unsolicited too. Uh, it's that's one of the worst things about teachers is when you go to dinner or whatever, they always want to tell you everything. But yeah, what I say is that, and it's not my sort of quotation, but it's that a bird trusts its wings, not the branch that it's on. Because if the branch breaks, it can still fly off. And so it's about knowing that you have all this worth in all these skills that you have. And you can transfer those to a lot of different opportunities, even if that opportunity ends up being destroyed or taken over by AI, for example. So I thought it might be a nice one to ask you as a sort of rounding off. And it's worth saying that people should get in touch with Dylan. He's, as you can tell, a great guy. I literally just reached out to him because I was meeting with some people that he works with, and it's been great bouncing ideas off with him. So if you are someone who's listening and you think, oh yeah, this is a guy I'd like to speak to, I know he would be happy to speak with you. Reach out to him on LinkedIn. You can find him online. It's not going to be difficult to find him. But yeah, tell us what advice would you give to someone who's maybe thinking about leaving or is just going through some of those questions that we have spoken about today?
Hey, Hugo, that was such a nice little. I think we have to end on that. Like, that's the nicest thing anyone can say. No, I
Uh,
think, look, I've really enjoyed this because I think we could honestly talk for hours, and we have actually talked for hours already.
yeah,
But like, it's nice when you do find those people that you do connect with, and you have the value system, I guess the same kind of drive and outlook on life, but also you've got life experiences that you can share and empathize over, share, and kind of be like, all right, that got me through this worked really, really well. And I think that I've been really fortunate to have a lot of these chats in the last couple of months where people are looking to make that jump. And I know we chatted about this. Like sometimes the first thing is like, all right, where do I start? Who do I talk to? What do I do? I think the best advice I can give is actually take a step back and figure out who you are and what you want to do. Like what makes you tick? What makes you happy? What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy? And a lot of that will actually not be work related things. And from there, it's like, okay, well, I like doing those things. These really excite me. So I love to be, let's say, active. I love to solve problems. I love to work with AI. I love to kind of connect with different people from different areas. Those are really massive opportunities and skills. But then, okay, with that information, it doesn't mean you have to have the solution. It doesn't mean, okay, well, this job fits it, so I'm going to go for this job and I'm apply and find people in this career and blah, blah, blah. The next thing is just find people that align with what you're talking about and what you enjoy. Like exactly what Hugo and I have done today. Like once you start finding your people and your network and your environment, you start to actually find what you want to do, your light shines, and you kind of realize, okay, this is where I want to be. These are the people I want to be around. These people give me energy. These problems or these opportunities are really exciting. And it's weird because as soon as you start getting into those spaces, you start to actually put everything together and realize, okay, well, I've got skills in this, I can do that. And I met this person who is really amazing at this. And suddenly these opportunities come out of nowhere. And I guess the main crux of that is don't rush it. Like I think we touched on this briefly, but we're both what 5, 6, 7 years into this journey, and we both feel like we're starting. So you can't expect it to turn around in 5 to 6 days. It's a very like methodical, slow process, and sometimes there's times where you run like that, and there's other times where you're like that, and there's other times you might be like that. But it's you're trusting in the journey and the process of you do it for a reason. You know you're going somewhere. You don't know where you're going, but you have faith that you're going to get to where you need to be. And yeah, there's no such thing. I don't know if you've heard this one, but it's the squiggly career or squiggly life. So instead of going from A to B and doing all the steps in between, which is generally what we're taught in high school and uni, you do this, you do this, you get this outcome, you go through that process, blah, blah, blah. It's more you start here and then you want to go here, but you go here and you learn something and you go down here and you go back that way and you're kind of all over the place. Eventually you get to where you need to be. But the journey and the story is so much better, and it actually makes sense when you look backwards. When you're in it, when you're starting, you have no idea. Like you can't see any of it. You don't know where you're going, but it's just taking those first few steps of, okay, well, I kind of feel this is where I want to be. These are some people I know and I connect with. All right, let's just roll with this and see where it goes. And I think you gave some really good advice around you don't have to quit everything, leave everything, jump into it straight away. Like you can put some soft reaches out, do this while you've got your traditional like 9 to 5 job, do this outside. And when you do have that confidence, all right, cool. Like let's spend a bit more time on it, a couple more days, a couple more weeks even. And then there is a point where you're like, all right, this makes sense to me. Let's make the jump. Let's go with this. And you'll never look back. I think that's the I don't know. The weird thing is I think everyone, Hugo, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think when we have these chats with different people, no one looks back and says, "Oh, I wish I shouldn't have done that," or "No, it was the worst decision." It's always like, "Yeah, it's a bit stupid, but I learned something from it." But compared to where you started, it's always going to be something better or something more amazing as well.
Yeah, I think so. Just enjoy the journey you're on, you know? All
That's
right,
it.
Dilhan.
Yeah.
Well, listen, dude, thank you so much for today. It's been really fun just chatting and talking about it. I did think that this was going to be really interesting talking about teaching versus dentistry and all these kind of things. And I feel like it's proven to be that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. To anyone listening, please do reach out to Dilhan if you've got any questions and you want to just chat about business and life and all these kind of things. And other than that, thank you very much.
No, I appreciate it, Hugo. You're doing a cool thing here with this podcast, amazing stuff in your business as well. So, yeah, excited to see what you do next because this is massive. It's going to grow. But look, have had a lot of fun and really appreciate you taking the time to chat to me.